spend.
Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nun, episode 374 here on August 14th. We are midway through the month, and you've got me and Rob tonight. Hey Rob, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, Troy, and yourself?
Good, good. Congrats on a very good Lima Charlie episode this week. I've caught about half of it, but
29-year careers. It's kind of hard to condense that into an hour,
yeah.
But we were able to do that. So,
And our
yes.
first email on Lima Charlie. So just not to get into politics, but not a lot of females we've had from the military on here, much less one at that rank. In the Air Force, and boy, accomplished quite a bit. So yeah, good interview. If people haven't watched it, but
yeah, Sandy and I have been friends for probably 30 years. So she credits me to talking her into joining the Air Force rather than the Army. I don't know if you caught that at the beginning, but she was hanging around a bunch of us Army guys, and she's like, "I'm thinking about joining the military." And I told her, I said, "Don't join the Army." So she decided to go to the Air Force.
You steered her away. So
yeah.
No, that's good. That was a good episode. But yeah, good to see you. Good to see everyone here on a Thursday night. See Doug in the chat so far. And we had some guests lined up. A couple things fell through. We got some others that are possibly going to get jobs with the government, can't come on. Got all kind of stuff going on. So you got Robin on night, but Rob, like normal, no shortage of things to talk about.
Never. One of the hottest topics right now, of course, is troops on the streets in DC. And it's funny how a lot of the same people that wanted concertina wire and fences and everything around the Capitol to protect it, just a few years ago, now all of a sudden they're saying that the crime is not that bad and things are not that vulnerable. Yet DC ranks 7th in the nation for violent crime. And someone might say, well, 7th, that's not too bad, but that's our nation's capital. Our nation's capital shouldn't be that high on the list and should be protected. The people should feel safe. It's a tourist place. It's a place that our government runs, and it should be a place that's safe for the people.
Well, it is the capital. I saw a comparison too of like another 8 or 9 capitals and across the world. And I think, per capita, I think murders are 15.4% or something like that for DC. The next closest was Bogota, Colombia at like 3 or 4%. And it went down from there. Spain was like 0.04, that kind of stuff. So from a capital standpoint, yeah, this is your nation's this is the seat of government. I mean, and that drives the largest country and the biggest superpower in the world. President Trump said it great yesterday. He was in one of his, whatever. He was doing something, I forget what it was. And of course he turns it into an impromptu press conference right there. And he said, he referred to his dad, and I watched him do this thing, and he goes, my dad always told me, he goes, when you go to a restaurant, if you walk up and the front door is dirty, and the front door isn't clean, and the front entranceway is dirty, then the kitchen's going to be filthy. And he's like, you don't want to go in there if they can't have the respect and everything to have the front and what the first thing you see in that restaurant be clean and tidy and all that stuff, then the rest of it's trashed. And
Right.
he's like, that's our country. When foreign dignitaries come here, when leaders come here, when people go to the seat of the government and they see, homeless people, tent encampments, all this other stuff, like how bad's the rest of the country?
Right. Oh
It's
yeah.
if we can't take the pride to keep that clean and policed up, you remember from back in the army days when I would go do barracks inspection. If I walked in those troops door, the door of their barracks room right up front, and the first thing I see is the trash overflowing and spit cans on the desk and all that kind of stuff, I know I'm about to flip some things, right?
Right.
If you can't get that set up and clean, then you obviously haven't put any time, effort, or interest in any other part of the room. And I know I'm going to find everything.
Well, and it shouldn't be like Gavin Newsom does. Only when the head of China comes over do you clean up the streets, right? It should be that way all the time.
Right.
And in the vacuum and lack of leadership, because Bowser is nowhere to be found. She's in Martha's Vineyard. She's not even in her own city when it's riddled with crime. So
And being right now secured by federal forces,
yeah,
one of the few places that actually the only place that can really happen in,
yeah,
because it's the District of Columbia, and definitely the first time I think probably in the 50 years that the DC area has had a representative government. Has it happened? Yeah, and she's not. I mean, it's like when the hurricane comes in, you get back to, if you're not in your state or get to wherever, unlike Mayor Bass, right? The fires are breaking out. You stay over in Uganda, that kind of stuff. You get back to your people so you can kept aware of the situation and be there on the ground and, give, lead by example and talk to people, not run off. Definitely after it's happening,
right,
be different. How many times has Cruz been in, you know, the ice storm hit, Cruz happened to be in Mexico. Boy, the left one jumped all over him,
yeah,
right? And then they had the floods down in Kerrville and Kerr County, and he was had already went overseas, was somewhere else, and he came right back. But boy,
right,
the left, especially those in Austin, love to jump all over that. Look, he's gone out of the state again.
yeah,
Nobody could have predicted that flood. Like, yeah, he was on break and recess. He was somewhere else. He
yeah,
came right back.
yeah.
But
Yeah, it's just, I mean, the hypocrisy, by the left, and of course the media jumps right on it, right? I mean, we know far too well just how far left the majority of the media is, and they just play right into it, right? They just continue to push, whatever narratives, and I think organizations like Paramount are finally hopefully learning a lesson with the cancellation of a couple of shows. Maybe they're finally getting it. Maybe they can't continue to throw good money after bad money, and maybe we're seeing a shift. I mean, we saw the Sweeney ads, right? I mean, how long did we go with overweight or other narratives being pushed upon us through
right.
marketing, and now we're back to just regular common sense things that people want to see.
Well, look at the Bud Light controversy. More
Yeah,
recently, look at
yeah,
the Jaguar commercial. They've had to shut down dealerships and all that kind of stuff, right?
yeah,
And American Eagle has went through the roof, and they've doubled down on their support for it.
yeah,
I saw a rumor, it could have been a new internet rumor, but a story that Bud Light was possibly considering bringing Sydney Sweeney in to be their spokesperson to help recover. Because from what I understand, they are still suffering from the Mulvaney fiasco, and
their sales would skyrocket overnight.
yes, her in some jean shorts and a little jean half shirt. She could do American Eagle and Bud Light all together.
we
Uh,
we need to get her brother. I've seen a whole bunch of things that her brother's in the Air Force. We need to get him on the show, and
I
I feel sorry for the guy.
I I do too. Like I do, soldiers will be soldiers, and airmen
Yeah,
will probably be airmen. But you probably remember. I know I do. Way back in the day when I went to basic and AIT, and you had Parents' Day or whatever, and somebody had a, a cute little sister or even a hot mom, right, show up, that poor dude caught hell once all the families left. I mean, it was as brutal as anyone could imagine if you've never been in that situation. The comments and everything like that. Yeah, the last thing you wanted was your late teen or early 20 sister in a short skirt and all that kind of stuff come hang
Wow.
watch you march. Yeah, as they say in hockey, who brought the rocket? But
Yeah, that poor kid. That poor kid.
yeah.
Um, yeah. What else is going on? We've got,
Well,
you know,
I want to go back to the guard thing real quick. So something I thought about we hadn't mentioned was the last time the guard were in D.C. or anything around that, the Dems were complaining because they weren't there for January 6th, and they tried to pin it on Trump to block it. Right? Remember that they were like,
mhm,
then of course we found out that he offered up 10,000 plus to Pelosi and all that kind of stuff. But that was the last time the National Guard and D.C. had anything to do with each other was January 6th, and then the left was, you stopped them from coming in. You wanted these riots to happen. You wanted that stuff. So now he brings them in,
mhm.
and totally under home rule, and allowed to do it. And the left, the Schumers, that everyone else are on there, ranting and raving. But now today we have evidence come out that George Soros's organization, because his son runs it now, is directly linked to over in the last 4 days, investing over 20 million to get these riots spun up. Right in the last 3 days, 4 days this happened, he has put 20 million through his super PAC or however he's doing it from the Soros organization into this. But when they go out man on the street interviews and talk to local DC people, looks like, I mean, it's mixed results. Some like it, some don't. But I can tell you what I have seen is almost 100% of those that have lost someone to the violence in DC are totally supportive.
Well, I mean, just a couple of years ago, I mean, New York put soldiers in the subways, right? I mean, when you've got spikes in crime, you got to be able to counter that. And if
Hey,
you don't have the
up,
police,
they're still there.
are they still there? Okay. I
They've
mean,
been
if you don't,
9/11. Since 9/11, New
yeah.
York Guard soldiers are milking that. They are still in the subways. National Guard soldiers in
But you
Thailand.
did just have a ramp up of that. I mean, it was in the news like
Right.
2 years ago, right? So they had a big problem. So, I mean, but you don't see anybody because it was a Democrat governor,
Right.
in charge and put those. But one of the things that, that Trump is pretty good at is finding all of those little things that are within his abilities, right?
Yeah.
You know, and Congress will bitch and complain and moan and whatever, but they can't do anything to stop it because they've done nothing to restrict the powers, and they won't because they want those powers to stay in place so that when they have their guy in office, they can exercise those if they want. And then make it out like, oh yeah, they're supposed to do this, but I mean, we've talked about it before. Their motto is never let a crisis go to waste, and man, they milk it.
Well,
Boy, do they milk it.
and President Trump knows how to egg them on. I mean, he's already said maybe he'll go longer than 30 days, and he thinks he can do it through executive order. And I've seen a lot of folks said that is possible. They say he should get Congress, but he could go longer than 30. And Schumer and the rest of them are flipping a lid and blowing a gasket because they're like, there's no way this is going to be allowed. But again, um, the crime, they can report, the media can spin the narrative that the crime is down, but they're ignoring juvenile crime, which is the main crime that's happening in DC, are those
Right.
below the age of 18. So when the media says crime is down, they are talking 18 and over. So like anything, like any kind of survey or anything else or stats, you can make those stats read however you want them to read. And
Sure.
they
Well,
conveniently start
yeah,
out.
didn't one of their chief of police get in trouble for that? Just altering crime data?
They sure did, and
Yeah.
not the one that doesn't know what a chain of command is, a different one. Yes, uh,
Yeah.
but no, it is. It is. It look, the place is our nation's capital. It was never intended by the founding fathers to have home rule. It was intended for the federal government to run D.C. That's why it was carved out
Right.
of the states to be its own separate district. Um, and so, but you can't have it like that. You got journalists, you got congressional staffers, you got people, going to museums getting murdered, you got people getting shot, carjacked, robbed. It's a very small, DC is acres
Sure.
wide.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes Rhode Island look big. It's small.
Right.
A lot of people jammed in there, which is why the per capita murder rate's 13.5%, because there's not a lot of people in there. But, a staff or somebody walking from their car or walking from the office, from the Rayburn building or Hart building to the parking lot, they're getting mugged and carjacked.
I don't
And
know if it's possible, but it would be funny if Trump found a way to strip all the Democrats of their taxpayer funded security. If you could just, oh, you say it's not a dangerous place. Well, you don't need this private security that the taxpayers are paying for. Let's pull all of this back. You don't get this limo, this up armored limo. You don't get that personal protection that you have, Senator Schumer or Pelosi or whatever. Go walk the streets. Prove to the American people, put your money where your mouth is. And if you do need protection, you can pay for it yourself.
I mean, he's pulled it from Fauci, he's pulled it from Milley, he's pulled security clearances left and right.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything he's not, if he can do it, he's not willing to do. They can pull it from him later. He'll be fine. He can replace it with his own, but and always has. But no, I mean that's a good point. Oh, if it's that good, then yeah, grab the metro when you head back home to Virginia, and just take the metro and see how that works out.
Right.
It's like Doug says, let them live like regular citizens. Let them go down there and get their car to the parking garage in the basement level and see how nervous they are when they're walking down for that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it is long overdue. And I don't know. I saw a guy this morning at the gym, and he just looked at me and said, "You tired of winning yet?" My buddy of mine, like, "Nope, still winning." We say that to each other all the time. But
Nice.
yeah,
DC's a mess. The homeless problem has been that way forever, and it's just amazing. Like I said a little bit ago, this is our capital. We should have more pride in it. It should be a safer, cleaner place.
it used to. Doug used to live in that area. I used to see Doug all the time when he lived in Northern Virginia. And I remember back then it used to be the rats were huge because they had these big steam grates and homeless people and stuff. But the DC was known for the rats. I mean, they were, and that now it's just the crime and the homeless situation, everything. Yeah, it's a capital. I mean, how many schools and trips and honor flights and stuff all go to DC because of the memorials, because of the statues, the history. You can go to the Smithsonian and spend 2 days per Smithsonian museum. I mean, I practically lived there one time at a corporate apartment and have spent all kind of time there. But it wasn't until last year that I went out to the extension of the Air Museum that's out at Dulles Airport. It was my first time going out there to that one, and I'd never even seen that one before. And I've been to every Smithsonian more times than I can count. But they're still interesting. I could go back in any of them right now and just reread everything all over again.
DC still has a rat problem. They just wear suits and skirts, and ties.
They put a tie.
Yeah, and they shake your hand and try to tell you nice things. So
yeah. Security and police they got there, yet they still have so much crime, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's more people. I mean, you can't. I don't know. You probably can't spend 5 minutes on any street in DC and not hear siren. I mean, there's always something right there.
Right.
Someone's going somewhere. Like I say, the politicians, leaders of both parties, different houses, the Supreme Court. There's always a siren and multiple black vehicles flying by one way or another. There's a lot of security, yet there's still. You don't have to go far to get to the other side of the tracks. You don't have. You don't have to step too far out of that. There's a diamond inside the diamond, I always say, and there's that diamond kind of goes from New York down Constitution, goes over to DuPont Circle, comes down. You stay in that, you're okay. Once you get outside of that, man, it gets. When we were there for the inauguration, we were going down at 4 in the morning, 3-4 in the morning to get lined up for the things. That's the only time I've ever felt safe being down there because it was January. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, and there was hundreds of other people trying to get in line. That's the only time I ever felt safe in downtown DC in the dark. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, the few times I've been there, because I try to avoid large cities, but the homeless problem, just the trash, even around the mall, right? I mean, it's just it's sad that that's our nation's capital, and they allow that to continue.
Yeah.
So,
you expect to see that in maybe New York or Vegas or other places or any other major city, but not in the seat of your government where if you're like, say, if you're going to clean anything, you're going to have the front door of your place clean, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what else we got?
So close to you and the governor's race, the communist city of New York City, the soon-to-be communist city of New York City. I mean, I guess it's always communist, right?
Yeah.
So, one of the plans by that candidate Mamdani
Zoran,
is
I mean, he sounds like a bad villain character in a Zelda game, but anyways.
so one of his plans is to create government-run grocery stores. Well, what just happens to pop up, and I don't know, you always have to wonder if things were planned, but the city of Kansas City just had to close their one, or I think they may have had more than one, but after $17 million in taxpayer funds, the government run grocery store had to close. They could no longer afford to keep it open. They renovated the buildings. They were putting everything they could. $17 million. So is that going to wake up the people of New York City? Probably not. They'll probably still vote for him. But I was watching something recently, and I forget the gentleman's name, but he said every now and then you need something like that as an experiment to pop up so that people can see just how truly it's going to fail.
Yeah. I mean, government run anything, right? We can,
Anything.
Government run healthcare. People are like, oh, they do it in Canada and the UK, all that stuff. Well, we do it here. It's called the VA.
Mhm.
And there's a number of us that qualify to go to the VA, yet I don't. For example, I have my own insurance that I pay into, and I'll go there. I've been in the VA in a long time, but there's others that have no choice, or that works out well for them. Then that's great. But it is rare and an exception to have someone go, man, I love the VA. They do a great job. I mean, there'll be people that are good, that care, but as an institution, it definitely is in the news enough. It does not work well. And it's well known that people that are in socialized medicine areas like UK and Canada and stuff, if they have really bad ailments or diseases or whatever, they come to the US and pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
So when you have a government run anything, was it President Reagan that said, one of the greatest lies of all time, I'm from the government, I'm here to help?
Yeah.
It's not going to work. And that grocery store showed it and reminded people.
Sure.
The problem is, do the American people, are the people, the voters in New York City, going to pay attention or care what happens in Kansas City? You talk about a self-absorbed place, like the Beltway. It's all about the 5 boroughs. I mean,
Sure.
they think the whole world revolves around New York City. They think anyone else in upstate, which is anyone pretty much north of Poughkeepsie or Poughkeepsie, is like rednecks, and they think it's a entirely different state, right? They think it's all about them. Are they going to care? Or are they just looking at that D and he's young and cool and that kind
Promises
of stuff?
free shit.
Yeah, I mean, there's no one good against him. I mean, you got Como, who everyone hates. The guy, got booted out and then lost against Madame, couldn't even win. Now he's trying to come back after killing tons of old people during COVID, and the other day he did a commercial in New York, and he's like, I'm Andrew Cuomo, son of, Mario Cuomo, grandson. Yeah, these 20-something-year-old New Yorkers don't give a damn that you're a Nepo baby. They don't, they haven't forgotten, and they miss their grandparents who you killed during COVID.
Right.
And, you got Adams, who was supposed to be this great savior because, he was a New York City policeman, and he hasn't done a lot for the security situation. In fact, turned into a big woke sanctuary city. I mean, there's no one stacked against this guy,
They need Chick-fil-A to come in and run it, because nothing runs better than a Chick-fil-A.
True. New Yorkers protested against Chick-fil-A when they came into Times Square. They also, once they got out of the protest line, got in line that was miles long to get some Chick-fil-A, but they all protested because that was the cool woke thing to do.
Sure.
Was not Chick-fil-A until you're ready for some waffle fries and a peach shake, but in a spicy chicken.
I mean, the problem is, and you have to go through these generations and these cycles, because when a group thinks they can vote somebody in order to get free shit, they're going to vote somebody in to get free shit. right? Now, as you get older, you realize, well, they're just a bunch of liars, right? That's it. They're lying. They're not telling us the truth. What's really behind the curtain? And some of Mamdani's stuff has come up on, like he won't even speak out about his own country where they toss gay people off of buildings and kill them for being gay. He won't even talk about that, or say it's bad.
But
He
he's got a
just
track record of anti-Semitism in New York. And it's crazy to think that the 25th anniversary of 9/11 is they could have as a socialist Muslim mayor of
Yeah,
that largest city, who was a failed rapper. I mean, but this is the same city that put AOC in office, right?
very
So,
true.
they put Spitzer as the governor, because look, New York, whoever New York City votes for is who wins. Doesn't matter. Honestly, the rest of the state doesn't matter. I've looked at a lot of those numbers being here and stuff. They put him in, got booted out for womanizing and sexual harassment. Put in Patterson, who was blind, also booted out as governor for sexual harassment. That dude's blind. Then you got Cuomo. I mean, they finally went to Horsehead there, Hochul, and people thought there's no one worse than Cuomo. And now, but then she fell into the position, and somehow they reelected her. Zeldin almost got it, but there's too many people that just care about the D on that name.
Right.
That's all they vote for. They don't.
Well, Marion Barry, he was the mayor of New York City, right? Isn't that what
No,
he
Barry
was?
was New York City. It was Washington D.C. mayor. He was Cocaine Marion.
Cocaine, yeah. I mean, and he got reelected, didn't he? Even
Yes.
after some of the cocaine stuff.
Yes.
Oh, it's sad. You you brought up AOC. One of our favorite people, I say tongue in cheek, may end up losing her spot as Texas redistricts. So, and the person I'm talking about is the
Oh,
wannabe ghetto Barbie,
yeah.
uh,
Crockett, a crazy
Crockett.
Rocket Crockett.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it
Yes.
cracks me up that the Democrats left Texas because of redistricting to the most corrupt state in the union that gerrymanders
The
worse than
most.
anybody.
Yeah. The
Some
most.
of their some of their districts look like puzzle pieces that you just don't even make sense,
Yeah.
and it just cracks me up. And they don't even see the irony in which is what really cracks me
Well,
up.
remember they did this before in Texas, and they
Hmm.
ran, if I remember right, to D.C. But they couldn't support themselves that long. They got broke and all this stuff, and they had to come back. Well, now they're coming back again, from what I understand, right? They finally have caved and they're coming back. I don't know what the Texas law allows. I know that the governor there, Abbott, is got arrest warrants out. I don't know what he's going to be allowed to do, but I mean, it'd be different if them leaving. They were trying to rush something through or whatever, and they were like, "We need to buy some more time." But everyone knows what's going to happen. The Texas State Senate's already passed it.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. You don't get to go into your job one day. You get to walk in the front door and realize, oh, the boss from the other headquarters is here. I'm leaving. I'm out. Right. The boss is there. The top person's there. They're here to see you. And you're like, I don't like that guy or that girl. I'm just going to go home. I'm just going to sit there and not work until I
Right.
know they've flown out on Friday. You'll be fired. You don't get to do that.
Sure. Yeah.
And this whole thing of, it's crybaby bullshit tantrum when they're like, we're going to run out and ride this out until the special session expires. Where Abbott's like, cool, we'll just do another one. We're just going to
Right.
you're not going to win. It's like you can hold up inside the house. You're eventually going to come out. You can stay outside all day.
Well, there's rumors that Beto, I can't call him that, Francis O'Rourke, was funneling money illegally to them while they were out of state.
Yeah, I
I
think
haven't ever really dug into that too much.
Paxton is trying to get the authority to arrest him
Yeah.
for breaking the Texas state law of funneling money to them. Yeah.
Good.
It-
Hopefully it happens. That'll be his second arrest. Of course,
But
nothing came out of his first one.
right, but these Dems, they somehow they want that martyrism, right? He probably wants it, because who's talked about that dude in the last several years? Nobody, right? He wants to. Now he's the look. I'm fighting back against the man, right? It's like what Newsom's doing, right? He's gonna push and try to get California redistrict to counter everything that's happening in Texas. No one's talking about Newsom, right?
Mm,
This is the Rocket Man playbook, right? This is Kim Jong Un. Oh, no one's talking about me. There's wars everywhere else. I'm gonna start shooting rockets to make sure everyone
yeah,
pays attention to me. It's like, hey, look at me. No one's talked about Francis. Now all of a sudden he's all in the news and he's getting his morning show circuits on, and he's like he wants to be arrested.
yeah.
He'll probably have his own camera guy there to pick it up, and so he can show that he fought the man.
Yeah. Well, Newsom, I mean, he's getting term limited out, right? Because they have a term limit for their
I think is that what they got? Is
governor.
that what they
Yeah,
have?
yeah. And so, but for the last 2 years, and anybody who pays attention to it, which unfortunately is not enough people, should realize for the last 2 years he's been looking over the fence. Well, they're doing this. They're doing. You've got major problems in your state. You have an app for people to walk around and identify feces on the ground.
In
That is a problem.
the city he used to be mayor of.
Yeah, in the city you used to be mayor of. In your cities that the former vice president used to be the top cop in are even worse. And
Yeah.
you're looking over the fence, worried about what Texas is doing, what all these other states, when you should be looking in your own backyard and concerned about your own things. But of course, he's got aspirations, and I almost guarantee he will be on the next ticket for the Democrats.
Oh, he's definitely trying. That's why he went on the Sean Ryan show and and try and dropping F bombs everywhere, because that's the new thing, right? The new thing is to be a victim. That's why they try to storm
Yeah,
ICE detention centers, or they want to get arrested. They want to show that they're part of the man on the street and that kind of stuff. Same reason why they drop F bombs every other word, right? And it's what they are seriously pandering in the just like when politicians, I'll say politicians in general, not just libs, Republicans do it too, but a lot of Democrats do, where they pander about, oh, we care so much about the soldier and about the veteran and all this stuff.
hmm
It's complete BS, because their actions speak louder than words, and their actions, the way they vote and what they do and that kind of stuff, says a lot more than just what they say in front of a camera, right?
yeah,
They did the same thing when coming on the podcast and dropping F that dude and F I'm gonna do this. They're pandering to just the everyday American people. Somehow they think that makes them relatable. It's kind of like Pocahontas there cracking open a beer, right? Or Schumer putting cheese on a raw hamburger. Like that they are truly that full of themselves. They look at the American people as that stupid that
hmm
people, and they're like, oh, if I cuss a little bit and have a beer, Billy
it'll make
Bob
me look. Yeah, I mean,
relates.
what was it? Was it Hillary Clinton and the hot sauce in her purse?
Right, the hot
I
sauce.
mean,
Remember,
come on.
everywhere she went, her dialect changed, right? And
Oh yeah.
Kamala did the thing,
Oh yeah.
right? They
Yeah.
went down south, they got very southern, right? They went, their dialect always changed based on who they were pandering to. And it's the American people see through that. Because
Yeah.
guess who doesn't relate to the American? Guess whose lifestyle the American does not relate to pretty much any American, and that's Donald Trump. Born into money, multimillionaire, real estate developer, New York City, got towers everywhere with his name on it. He doesn't have there's no correlation or relation to everyday middle America or the American people to him. He's
hmm
not trying to, put on the dude, short of wearing his hat. He's in a suit all the time, his long ties, that kind of stuff. Unless he's going to a disaster area, he's always dressed to the nines, all that kind of stuff. He's not out there trying to put on cowboy boots and talk shit and act like and have a
Right.
beer and all that stuff. But guess what? The American people relate to him because they're not relating to the identity politics of this image that you give. They're relating
Yeah.
to that they're not even related. They feel you've got the best common sense and that
Yeah.
you're going to do what's right, because actions speak louder than words. And actions that are done to pander are just like words. All they're doing is talking, whether it's an accent or hot sauce or rolling their sleeves up or cussing. People see that. It's just
Well,
pander.
what you constantly hear out of the left is how much they hate this country, right?
Yeah,
We have this horrible history. We've always come from this very bad place, and we're still racist. Yet they refuse to leave, right? And the American people want somebody who loves the country, and because
right.
the majority of the Americans do love this country, you
We have
know.
we have 321 million people in America, roughly, somewhere like that, right?
Mhm.
435 elected representatives in Congress, and we have one that she loves the country Guatemala, her ancestry from, than this own the country that has put her in office. We have another one from Somalia who, married her brother to get here, and talks more about that. We have one from, has Palestinian heritage, talks more about. It's like you're 435 out of 312 million. Don't even know how many zeros are in front of that after that period of percentage. And you're representing this. You're in a job and in a position of power and influence that pretty much no one else can do, right? No one else has ever
Right.
experienced. I mean, that kind of stuff. And yet you badmouth this country that gives you these opportunities. I don't know anyone that has went through the naturalized citizenship process. Um, our good friend Clayton Merwin, who did our artwork for the show and everything, we've had Clayton on many times. His wife just went through this and got her she's from UK and took her test and passed it. And I've known a number of people that have, and I wrote and said she now knows more than most people ever born here about our country's history. I've never heard anyone come through that badmouth our country. Not one.
Right.
Right.
A country so bad that people will risk, life and limb on a raft to get out of Cuba to get here. People will walk through the Darien Gap in Central and South America to get here. A
Right.
country so horrible that the people who hate it refuse to leave. It's and so why Trump resonates with him, because he loves this country. He talks nothing but favorably about the country. He doesn't badmouth it. He loves the flag, loves our soldiers. So it just blows me away. But I'll tell you who I
No one,
don't
no one is trying to escape here. Right.
know.
Those that can are the Rosie O'Donnells of the world. Then they go over there and just, get online and just get on social media and just try to keep themselves again relevant, kind of like Francis, because
Yeah,
no one's talking about her, right? No one's talking about Ellen, but no one is trying to swim across the Rio Grande the other way, right? No one is trying to sneak
yeah,
across the can, not unless they're trying to get out of this country because they're a criminal. That's the only reason. But every day, me people aren't going, wow, I bet Guatemala, Nicaragua, anywhere else down the south is probably better than here. I got better opportunity. I'm heading that way.
you
No.
notice they only flee to predominantly white places like Rosie and even Jimmy Kimmel. But I think those individuals who have taken citizenship up in other countries and have fled should be marked and not allowed back in. They should be prohibited from ever coming back and from ever regaining U.S. citizenship. It should be removed from them. I mean, one of the things that Americans have always done, and not other countries do this, and you being a veteran, you've seen this. Very few countries will stay and fight for their country. The United States usually goes in and helps these people, but how
Right.
many refugees leave these worn, torn places instead of staying and fight for their own country?
Right.
It rarely happens. Uh,
Ukraine is an example, right? Is Zelensky good, bad, or indifferent? No matter how you feel, he's had good days and bad days. I have no doubt. Had he not stayed, I mean, had he left, and yeah, had he not stayed, that country would have fallen in a couple of weeks, right? Because people are like, well, if he's, I mean, there have been no motivation because refugees were getting out of there, right?
yeah,
But a lot of people stayed, and because he stayed, right? We saw the president of the leader of or they called him of Afghanistan when that dude rolled up and packed his helicopter full of money and rolled. I mean, the
yeah,
Kabul fell. I mean, you look at your leaders. Reason why in the Revolutionary War days, and that's they looked at that leader, that commander on horseback, so sword in the air. They followed him. If that guy turned around, they're like, if he ain't staying, I'm not staying. Right? I mean, yeah, it's a lot of those countries. They're running for the hills. They're running for the borders.
yeah.
Usually, while we're jumping in from the skies,
Yep, yep.
for sure.
We kind of talked about pandering, and someone who I'm excited about. I almost wish I was back in Texas to vote for him. Is Brandon Herrera has announced that he is going to run again. He ran against a Republican, a I would not call him a Republican. I would call him a rhino like anything else, Tony Gonzalez. And he represents, all the way out towards Big Bend and El Paso and stuff like that. And Tony Gonzalez has consistently voted against things like the Second Amendment, voted for more restrictions and things like that. And for those who don't know Brandon Herrera, he's the AK-47 guy. Very, very staunch 2A supporter. And I'm super excited that he is going to run again.
Doesn't he go by donut operator? Isn't that him?
No, that's another guy that they hang out with.
Oh, okay. I
Uh,
thought that.
but Brandon said he got Tony Gonzalez to a runoff, which hopefully scared Tony Gonzalez. They spent, I think, $20 million. Tony Gonzalez did to Brandon Herrera's $1 million. And Brandon was able to get him to a runoff, which in Texas, the way it works is everybody goes in, and then if the lead candidate doesn't get at least 50% of the votes, they take the top two and they put them up again.
Right.
Brandon Herrera lost by 3%. I think it was like 400 votes or something. So we need to in our push to get rid of Democrats like the ghetto, the wannabe ghetto Barbie. We also need to get rid of these rhinos out of there, like the Tony Gonzalez's, and get people like Brandon Herrera
Does
into
he
office.
represent those border districts that flipped red? Or is that,
Yes.
so that could very well change it. It could be enough
Yeah.
to, especially if Trump endorses Brandon Herrera, then it's game over.
Sure.
Right? That he is the kingmaker still. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all he has to do. He puts his name on it. I mean, people drop out of races as soon as he endorses the other one. Like, I'm done. Right? We see it in members of Congress. Right? As soon as he says, "Oh, we saw it in Wyoming. We saw it with Cheney." Right? When he goes, "Nope, I'm going for this one," they just drop out. They don't even try because their
Right.
people come to them and say the numbers aren't. You're wasting your time, effort, and money.
Yep.
They drop out. He can. That's all he has to do. But yeah, that's good. Yeah, I've seen him a lot on the Unsubscribed podcast and that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I didn't know he had run before, but I'm not tuned
Yeah.
into Texas
Yeah.
politics.
Took Tony to the mat, and hopefully he can take him out this time.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. Um, so next up, we Trump and Russia. One of the biggest sticking points that the Democrats have talked about is Trump said he was going to end the Ukraine war day one, right?
Right.
And I mean, you're a combat veteran. War doesn't just end. I mean, typically doesn't end in just one day. I mean, even Desert Storm lasted a couple of days, right? Uh, even though they were way overpowered. But so Trump is going to meet with Putin in Alaska, which I don't know. When was the last time a Russian president has stepped foot in Alaska?
That I don't know because I think Putin last time he was here, he met with Bush in Texas or Kenny Bunkport.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't remember. I think Trump picked the spot, which is he's got the cards and the swagger because and then he made a comment, isn't it appropriate since we bought Alaska from them and all that kind of stuff. But no, I don't. It's interesting they picked. They're going to be at Elmendorf Air Force Base, right near Race B State. My Doug and I were both stationed, but no, I don't. It's interesting they picked there because I guess maybe it's kind of midway between both have to fly, but why they picked Anchorage to go to? It's not a it's kind of up there, last frontier, right? It was just there's got to be a reasoning behind it, but yeah, it'll see how it's a big deal tomorrow, right? It's
Sure.
One thing President Trump has proven this time around, even the first campaign, but the first time, his first term, but even this one, I mean, he's had world leaders in that room in front of that fireplace and has like Zelensky and his others and dogged them out. Others he's talked well. He doesn't he doesn't pull any punches. You see it raw, unedited. I mean, it's better than any reality show ever. And he's been talking a little bit beforehand. Putin's been saying a few things, but he said if it's short, it won't last long. So I think people will be watching. If it's a long meeting, there'll be people will be kind of like maybe something's going to happen. If he's out he could turn around and walk out in 30 minutes. Be like, no, we're done.
Well, people forget that. I mean, so Ukraine and Russia, that's not the only thing going on that Russia's involved in, right? I mean, so those talks aren't just about Ukraine. Iran comes into play in that. Everything that goes on in the Middle East, where China and Russia are both, in North Korea, that's all on the table. So it's not just simply about Ukraine.
And their cooperation with China, what they're doing with China, they're meeting and having diplomatic relations, war games.
Sure.
All that stuff. There's the energy stuff with the Nord Stream 2, all that, the oil and yeah, I mean, Trump was threatening 35% tariffs, I think, on India because they were buying Russian oil.
Yeah.
I mean, he is that there's a reason why he wrote The Art of the Deal.
Right.
It's going to be interesting to see tomorrow. The markets are going to be watching. I think the whole world's going to hold his breath tomorrow to see what comes of these meetings.
Yeah.
A
And
couple
I
weeks
doubt very
ago,
seriously that he's going into that without already having conversations behind.
well, yeah,
He's set things up.
they do a lot. I mean, they're diplomats, they're secretaries of state. I mean, all that stuff is prepped, right?
Right.
But I think one thing, and I've known that personally. I know that for sure. It's happened in many world leaders. They know that the script, the outline, everything they're going to talk about, it's all been rehearsed. It's all been planned. Hey, he's gonna bring up this and this and this. Where this we've already talked. We'll compromise. But I would imagine, I don't know firsthand, but I would imagine that his forward team and his folks that do all that stuff probably are like, we're not really sure what the old man's going to say. I mean, I got to imagine that they're like, he's the man. He'll make the decision. I mean, he's sitting there, he's making decisions on how the White House is being. This dude has got his hands in everything, and they may have a topic, they may have an agenda to talk about, but I could see that he takes it whatever direction he wants to take it.
Well, I mean, and he learned a lot of that in his first presidency because of so many leaks, right? And it did, and presidents have had leaks before, so it's not just him having it. But I think that's one of the biggest things he learned is to not give out so much information, even to his inner circle, because there's some bad actors in there.
Look at the Iran strike. I
Yeah.
mean, it's been a long time since, if ever, that DC has had something so large and so big happening that literally did not get leaked out to Times Reporter, Washington Post, something.
Well, and why was that? Because he didn't let Democrats know what was happening.
Right.
Democrats like Adam Schiff, who is now accused of leaking classified information during the first Trump administration.
From longtime Democrat voting intelligence community members that were on the inside of the House Intelligence Select Committee and all that stuff that have come forward as whistleblowers. Came forward as early as 2017. And have come forward, and yeah, he's got a couple shifts, got a couple things going on. I mean, we all remember back during the Russia collusion stuff, Schiff sitting there as the chairman of that committee saying he personally saw evidence, that he personally saw things, and wait till the American people see it. And then the reports came out and there was nothing, and it's all been blown out, and we realized it was all a big nothing burger. No one has come back and asked those hard questions. Hey, what happened? I thought you saw evidence. Like, everyone just conveniently forgot that this guy is on record and on video saying, I've seen it. Wait till the American people see it. And so everyone took like, wow, it must be real. This guy that's a pretty big proclamation. What did he see? He was either lying, which he was, or there's somehow that whole investigation, the Durham report, they didn't find it something that Schiff had.
I lost your audio.
You did?
I lost your audio. Can you still hear me?
Yep. Yeah. I don't know if anyone else
can't hear you at all.
Doug or Ma, anybody?
But yeah, Schiff. I mean, we've all been around. I was in communications, so I've been around and held classified information and held multiple security clearances, as I'm sure you have too, and others. I mean, we all get briefed. We know the rules. We know we're not supposed to be leaking classified information. We know, there's huge penalties for that. I mean, even when you don't intentionally leak something, like the Navy guy a couple years ago, where he took some pictures on a sub that he didn't realize was classified. I mean, they sent him to jail for that.
Right.
If Schiff doesn't go to jail, then we've got a problem.
Yeah.
But we've got 2 tiers of justice.
Not even counting for the mortgage fraud stuff that he's under investigation for, but for this, yes, that he told. I mean, look at what. Well, they didn't put Comey in jail, and Comey admitted. Can you hear me, Rob? Can you hear me? No, we can't. Okay. So I'll just talk, and Rob won't hear. But Comey admitted that he would come out of meetings with Trump and call his Washington Post buddy or Washington Times buddy and would leak info to them, and from his notes in his diary. So Comey did that. Nothing has happened. I agree with Rob that that he should definitely see some jail time. But look, Hillary had classified info on her server. She didn't. Nothing happened to her.
All right.
She. Oh, can you hear me now, Rob?
I can. Yeah.
Yeah. She bleached it. She hammered drives. Nothing's happened. I mean, so I mean, there's definitely two tiers of justice because Trump freaking pees the wrong way in the wind, and they're doing it. Multiple investigations and they're in all the talk shows. These other folks are outright doing things far and above and beyond what other people go to jail for, and it's just kind of written off and it's like given a free pass.
Well, I mean, his mortgage thing, him and what's the other, the woman out of New York, and the whole mortgage thing. I mean,
Oh,
that's exactly what they were prosecuting Trump for. So they
right.
should both go to
Yeah.
jail and have 34 felonies based on what just happened in New York.
Yeah.
I
Letitia
mean,
James, who's the attorney general who campaigned on going after him,
yeah,
yes, is now being accused of the same thing. And you watch the talking heads on some of the left shows, and they're all like, "We can't believe that Trump is weaponizing the Department of Justice." Like, what? Am I in an alternate universe? Like, that's what happened for the last 4 years. It was weaponized.
yeah.
I mean, and now we're finding out no, actually prior to 2016 because Obama was weaponizing it. Um, you
But
know,
it's still sad that, I mean, just how much the left wields power and control over a good portion of the population that still believe, well, no, that never happened. I mean, how many people still today don't believe that the Russia hoax was a hoax? They still think, you know, he, Trump is a Russian asset.
again, you control the narrative, you control everything.
Yeah,
To people today should not be surprised how Hitler came to power and wielded power because he controlled the narrative.
yeah,
We've talked about in this show and I've talked about it in many circles, right? People wonder why, when we're there to help the Afghans or Iraqis or whatever, why do they turn against us? Well, because someone else controlled the blue loudspeaker above the mosque, and they said whatever they said, and those people just
yeah,
nodded their head up and down, and said, "Oh, that's what the Americans are going to do to us. Well, we'll kill them too." When we were the ones building schools, digging wells, making sure little girls could go to
sure.
school, but the guy who supposedly knows how to read the Quran is telling them that we rape, murder, pillage, and all that kind of stuff, and they go, "Well, we don't want that happening." So you just control the narrative, and that same thing is what's happened in this country over the last
Yeah,
number of years from 2020. We'll start with COVID as well before COVID, but just take from that point on. You control the narrative. You control the George Floyd narrative. You control the Ferguson, Missouri narrative. The Chaz zone, all that kind of stuff. And you say it enough and on enough different venues, and people go, "Oh, it must be true." Right? Oh, it's got to be. You hear Russia hoax, Russia, Russia, Russia. That's why Trump always says it 3 times because it never stopped. And you have all the media outlets. You give them all their marching. You've seen these montages where
mhm,
they all use the same term or phrase. Like
yeah,
they can show every media outlet 5 different guests on there and a few politicians, and they literally use the same 3 to 5 word phrase about something, right? Whatever it may be. It's like they are all given they all got the email and they go out and start doing it. So you say it enough, you beat it,
yeah.
people go, "Oh shit, I guess that's
Well,
what it is."
in say Afghanistan, where the literacy rate is like super low, right? The majority of the country can't read. I
Right.
can understand there, but in this country where we walk around with this and we have the entire world's knowledge right here at our fingertips, you can show people you can show them video clips that you obviously are not AI, that are
Yep.
real. You can show them the research, and they still won't believe it because I don't know if it's the tribalism. I don't know if it's, they don't want to admit they're wrong or what. But I mean, I still run into people on a regular basis. They're like, no, no, Trump's a Russian asset.
Well,
No,
they
he's
have this
not.
device. They have this device, which really is a jail, and they don't realize it holding in
Yeah,
front of their head. And they have all information, but they're not accessing all information because they're too busy scrolling left and right, looking at videos and this and that, whatever. And they look for, how many young people I've talked to over the past couple of years who literally would tell me, "I don't watch the normal news. I just watch Colbert and Jon Stewart for my news." And I used to be like, "You're joking, right? Like you're messing with me." They're like, "No, I watch that. That's where I get my news from." And I'm like, I'm like, how do you procreate, much less vote? I'm like, that just insane. And so they have all this, but they don't access this device that gets them all the information they want in the world for any of that stuff. They get onto what the things they want to do and they ignore the rest of it. And they go,
Yeah.
they see it in a few things. Their friends tell them about it. Jon Stewart and Colbert talk about it, and they go, "Shit must be true." Right, and they don't do their own investigation. They don't spend even a moment of time to look in to see how valid it is.
Or the
um,
TikTok Chinese propaganda comes in, and they believe everything that goes on TikTok.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's as classic as it. You control the narrative, you control the message, you control the people. Right,
Yeah.
that's Stalin talked about it. I mean, every world dictator and leader has talked about it. They've all done it. Saddam did it, Gaddafi did it. You control the message, you will control the people. You squash alternative voices or things, people that are speaking against you. Dictators rule, they wipe those people out. They rule through fear, and everyone just goes along with it. So, well, this is the new normal, right?
I was listening to a podcast a couple years ago, and it was a Vietnam veteran pilot who had been shot down and was held POW. Well, years later, he goes back to Vietnam to visit, and he was right outside where the POW camp was that he was held in, and he was talking to a woman that was approximately his age, and he was telling her, "Do you know what went on in there?" And she says, "Oh yeah, the American prisoners were treated so good. They had great meals, and they had volleyball, and they had all." And he's like, "No, I was tortured. I was tortured in there." And she's like, "No, we were told y'all were treated great." And that's, this is, you know late 60s, early 70s. But I mean, it's with the tools like this, the the propaganda is even worse.
In the South Pacific in World War II, and the Marines were island hopping, Japanese civilians were jumping off of cliffs and throwing their babies off cliffs because they were told that the Americans were going to, you know, gut their children and rape them and cut their heads off,
Yeah.
and die. You better to die with honor. And there's Marines that would tell stories. I was talking about this recently. May have been here on the show in the last few weeks. I don't remember. And they were coming up and watching these civilians run out of their huts and houses to cliffs and just throw their kids was screaming, crying for them not to. And these Marines are trying to get there and try to explain to them. And they were throwing their kids off of cliffs, hundreds of feet into the water and rocks, and then jumping themselves because the emperor and supreme leader said, if you let the Americans get you, they're going to do all these horrible things. You're better to
Right.
die with honor and go at your own terms. And once they captured some Japanese, and they realized when they were able to capture them that they actually got treated well, got medical first aid and all that stuff. They also were like, oh, this is not, and they would tell the Americans in interrogation, like, we were told all this stuff. Wow,
Yeah.
we did not think you would do this for us. We didn't
Right.
think you would treat us as soon as you shot us. You were on the battlefield treating us and trying to save us.
Right.
They were just told that. They believed it. The
Yeah.
narrative was yeah.
The propaganda machine. So
So
the
we
the only bright light coming is it is now college football season. It is upon us. So, I have to root for two teams. I have to root for my horns, my Longhorns, and I have to root for my Razorbacks.
you better
Unfortunately,
root
they're
for
both
the
in the
Hogs.
same conference.
Yeah, you better
Uh,
root for the Hogs.
so, do you follow college football at all?
I do. Yes, I would much rather on a Saturday. I will watch any college football game if I'm cruising by the TV. Versus pro, I only watch a few select teams or teams of fan. I won't just sit down and watch any pro game. But college, I've always loved college because I mean, they're trying to prove themselves. Pro, that dude's got a 5-10 year contract. College, they don't know what scouts are in the stands, and they're doing the dynamo moves and the crazy things that they can do to try to. That's why I love college ball, and it's always changing because those the athletes are changing out, and you get new capabilities, and the dude that's 6'6" and he's a running back or a wide receiver that and now you get to watch them for a couple of years, and then you got someone new coming in. Yeah, I love
Sure.
college.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
SEC fan, big SEC fan, I gotta admit. But also, love my Wyoming because it's where our boy Josh Allen came from. So I do watch a couple West Coast things. But yeah, I used to live in Arkansas, so I'm a Razorback fan. Um, but also like watching the Gators. So also a big one there. So yeah. Yeah.
Well, the Horns, it'll be the start of the next Manning at the helm, right? So they've got the newest Manning, and we'll see. We'll see what he can do. See if he continues that legacy. The Peyton and the what was Peyton's dad's name? I forget. Archie Manning,
And then you
and
got Peyton.
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully, he doesn't have some sort of sophomore slump or anything, and hopefully the Horns can come out and I'm very happy that we get to see Texas and Texas A&M again. That rivalry back on the because I grew up watching that. That's always the biggest one. I liked that one even more so than Texas and Oklahoma
I say
because
Texas Oklahoma was pretty big. Yeah.
yeah, but even if A&M had the worst team in college football, they always gave the best effort, and Texas as well. They always gave the best effort in that game because that was for who gets to wear the crown of Texas,
Right.
and that game is always way more interesting to me than it is. Plus, I've got a lot of friends that are Aggies, so I like to root
Yeah.
against them.
A lot of competition. Do you have
Yeah.
like some kind of like football package like on Saturdays or your Saturday shot for the next several months?
No, I don't because I live so far out, and I all my services are streaming.
Yeah.
So my, my Saturdays are actually pretty full going forward right now. So I'll just be following it on my phone. I do have some fishing trips coming up as well during that season. So I try to walk out into the dunes and see what kind of service I can get to get an update on a game. Unfortunately, when I do the big fishing trip every year is when Texas plays Oklahoma, and so I always want to know what the outcome of that is.
Yeah.
Um, so no, I don't have that, but I do follow it as closely as possible. My wife has pared down my football over the last few years because she hated being a football widow. Because I would go right from I'd watch high school football at one point if you put it on TV, especially when my son was playing, and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So and then I would, you go right from the high school to the college into the pros, and then that didn't end until Monday. And then I was always running multiple fantasy leagues, and at least 4 or 5 at a time, and so I was always into the stats and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm definitely excited about college football season starting. So
Well, my wife knows in about a month, we're about a month out from her turning into a hunting widow. And so I got my hat on. So our first season starts mid-September. And then we have a couple, they get, they're scattered out. So we're about to get into that time frame and it's going to be, I'm probably going to miss a few shows, definitely in November, because when that comes on full season, it's going to
sure.
be focused on that. But yeah, I'm with you. But I get my football in there too. But yeah, it's definitely we're getting back into where I'm about to be in a stand, and
I have to.
well,
I mean, I'm still a Cowboys fan. I mean, I'll always be a lifetime Cowboys fan. But it is, that you have to set the expectations going into the season. I'm not expecting them to do anything worth the damn. What are you going to see out of your Bills?
yeah. Well, they just signed James Cook. Finally, he was a holdout and probably one of the best running backs in the NFL. Honestly, they just signed him to a 4-year, $48 million deal. So we've got Josh for another 4 or 5 years. Last year was supposed to be a build year, and look what they did. It was supposed to, they lost a lot of folks. There's a lot of excitement. I mean, they've had one preseason. They lost out against the Jets or Giants. No one's worried about that because they're trying out all the second, third strings.
Sure.
But it's looking solid. This is a big year. It's the last year in the Highmark Stadium. They've been building this new stadium. I've got tickets already, thanks to one of my sons, for one game this year. But I'll be at the Kansas City game, which would be huge because we used to hate the Patriots. We hate everything about Kansas City now, as does most of the country. So that'll be a big game. But no, it's we're expecting big things this year from the Bills for sure.
Does the new stadium have a roof?
No, and we all wonder why we're spending billions on a
What?
stadium in Buffalo without a retractable roof. It has a big overhang, and apparently they've designed some kind of engineering feat of no wind gets inside the stadium at all. But there are many, many people who questioned why so many tax dollars and other things are going into a stadium that in the past number of years they have had to offer free food and $20 an hour to fans to come shovel seats out. In fact, a couple years ago, they had to move a game between us and Pittsburgh down to Cleveland because both places were sopped full of snow, and we had to move the game. So everyone thought for sure they would give us a retractable roof, have something like Dallas, so you could, and people were like, well, we'll lose the ambiance of being it. Look, hey, if it's cold, and we're paying a warm weather team like Miami or something, yeah, open the roof, make it miserable for them.
Sure.
But if we're playing Minnesota, how about close the roof? We both know how to play in the cold, and let's just have a nice game, right?
Yeah.
Maybe even open us build Buffalo up to host a Super Bowl. They've hosted it in for Giants and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
No one's going to come to Super Bowl and freaking be at 5 degrees, right? No
Yeah.
kind of money. So no, our new stadium, multi-billion-dollar stadium, does not have a roof.
Well, as far as the Chiefs go, Mahomes went to Texas Tech, and my youngest daughter went to Texas Tech, so she's a big Kansas City fan. So I don't care if it's a high school team playing Kansas City, I'm going to root against them. So
it is. Does she like the Muppets? Does she like Kermit the Frog? Because
I don't know.
Yeah, that's yeah, I can't say. But anyways, well, we've been going for over an hour.
Yes, sir.
And good one. We covered football. Wow, I'm not sure we've really talked. We've probably talked some Bills stuff before, championship stuff, but yeah, we covered it all. A lot of things happened in the news. Thank you, Rob, for joining me tonight and coming on camera versus behind the camera, like most of the time. I think we've got some guests. I think next week, right?
We do. We've got the next couple of weeks lined up. I've got some people in the pipeline for our Tuesday show as well. Finally, we just had our first female, and I'm gonna get a signal guy on soon, so the Signal Corps can be represented. So
we're representing all the minorities in the Army.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Those non-infantry types. But that's all right. That's good. No, these stories have been great. And I've had very good feedback from friends and people personally about these shows, both from my church and people I know around town, people I know in the military that just really like that we're doing this Leave Us Right. And it all goes to you. You're the one that came up with the idea for it. So for those watching and listening, if you have someone that has deployed any branch of service, that has deployed and we'd love to have them on, be sure and reach out. We like, all these, we've had weathermen, we've had grunts, we've had special forces. I mean, we've had it all.
And like for your dad, we need to capture, more of that stuff before it's lost. You guys did a great job with Bruner and capturing those stories from World War II. But we've got Korea and Vietnam era that we're getting ready to lose, right? So they're getting up there in ages, and we need to start capturing those stories as well.
Yeah, for sure. And we started this out. We were going to do just GWAT, and then we expanded. We're like, no, we need to grab anyone we can. And,
absolutely.
The last living member from the USS Arizona just passed away last week. There are no more now. We had Lauren on. I've got the picture I'm looking at right now that had 21 signatures on it. Those were the last 21. There's none now. That generation that is gone.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Rob. Thank you everyone for joining us here on a Thursday night, episode 374. Be sure and tune in. Watch us on all the socials. Tune in next Thursday and tune in Tuesday for another episode of Lee and Charlie. And we hope everyone has a good night and a good weekend.